Imagine standing at a crossroads, two paths stretched before you, both inviting, both compelling, yet something holds you back, a whisper hesitation. One path promises security, but denies joy. The other offers freedom, but at a cost. As you hesitate, frozen in the space, you begin to notice. There's a voice inside, isn't there? Maybe more than one. One saying, you must choose wisely, and another saying, but what if you choose wrong? And isn't it interesting how the tension builds, how it weaves itself into thought, into breath, into the muscle? You've felt it before, haven't you? The sensation of being pulled in two directions, as if any step forward would somehow be the wrong one. But what if, just for a moment, you could step out of that? What if the problem wasn't the choice, but the frame itself? Because double binds, they aren't about decisions, they're about the illusions of choice. What about this? A child reaches for a cookie. The parent says, why haven't you given them a cookie yet? Then the moment the cookie is offered, the response changes. Who said you could give them one? It's a no-win situation. And inside the mind, something happens. A belief forms. No matter what I do, I'm wrong. And beliefs like these, they don't just sit in the mind, do they? They spread, they become patterns. Imagine a man who's told, if you don't work hard, you'll never succeed. And yet, as he burns himself out, he hears, you work too much, you'll never be happy. A woman who's told, speak your truth. And then, how dare you say that? A mind caught between, be strong and don't be so cold. Between, take action and don't make the wrong move. And isn't it fascinating how these binds create conflict, stress, even illness? Because the mind, when trapped, it loops, it tries an unsolvable equation. And the body follows, doesn't it? Muscles tighten, breath shortens, choice that should be simple, plan the future, or take a walk, becomes a crisis. And then something even more powerful happens. The bind deepens. Your indecision is the real problem. They say, not the choice, not the setup, but the hesitation itself. And suddenly, no matter what you do, you're at fault. But what if the way out isn't found with the bind? What if the trick is to step above it, to change levels entirely? You see, the dolphin doesn't escape by choosing between two impossible tasks. The dolphin breaks free when it realizes it can do something else, it can leap. And isn't that what the genius is? The ability to transcend, to shift levels, to see from above what once seemed impossible from below. And as you begin to notice the double binds in your life, because you will, won't you? You may start to wonder, what happens when you stop playing the game? What happens when you say, I see what's happening here. And instead of choosing between two impossible options, you create a third. Because the moment you do, you're free, and freedom feels good, doesn't it? And you might begin to notice something that's been there all along, hidden between the lines, like a message written in invisible ink, only revealed under just the right light. Because isn't it fascinating how the mind can be caught in a loop, chasing its own tail, trying to solve a puzzle, where every move is the wrong one, like a bird in a glass cage, seeing freedom but never quite reaching it, until something shifts, a new way of seeing, and then suddenly the glass disappears, because the bars, they were never real. When you think about it, really think about it, every time you were told, be yourself, but also, not like that. Every time you heard, take a risk, but also, don't make a mistake. Every time you felt deep down that whatever you choose, you lost something. It wasn't about choice, was it? It was about the frame. And frames, they shape perception, don't they? Because the nervous system, it isn't just a collection of wires and circuits, but a storyteller, weaving meaning out of experience, shaping reality from expectation. When the mind is placed inside a contradiction, when every path leads to a trap, something interesting happens, a pattern forms. Neurons fire loops. Synapses reinforce a belief. I'm stuck. As this belief settles in, the body follows, tension builds, breath shortens, stress rises, and the mind searches for an exit. None appears, unless there's a way to step out of the pattern. Isn't it curious how the greatest breakthroughs, the moments of true freedom, they come not from choosing differently, but from seeing differently. Because when a dolphin is placed in a double bind, when every move is punished, when the trainer's expectations contradict, at first it struggles, confusion, hesitation, and then something shifts. Instead of choosing, it does something unexpected. It jumps. It creates a third path. And the moment that happens, the trap dissolves. And you've already begun to notice, haven't you, how certain patterns in your life, they were never what they seemed. How the moment of tension, of conflict, of damned if I do and damned if I don't, they're never really about the choices themselves, but about the invisible rules beneath them. And the best part, the moment you recognise the pattern, you've already begun to break it. Because the double bind only works when you believe in it. And belief is flexible. And the unconscious mind, it knows how to change, doesn't it? After all, there was a time when you believed other things, when limits seemed real until they didn't, when walls felt solid until you walked through them. And maybe now, right now, you're beginning to feel it, that shift, that widening of possibility. Because when you stop playing the game, the rules, they no longer matter. And something deep inside is already responding. And isn't that a powerful thing? Because double binds, they're connected to schizophrenia, particularly in the way they create inner conflict, mental fragmentation, and distort reality. This idea was originally explored by Gregory Bateson and his colleagues, who proposed the double bind theory of schizophrenia. A double bind is a situation where the person is given contradictory messages that cannot be resolved. No matter what they do, they're wrong. Over time, this creates the confusion, the inner tension, and the breakdown in logical thought. So imagine a child growing up in an environment where they receive messages like, "Come here, I love you," said with coldness and no affection. "You should always be independent, but punished for making decisions alone. Be honest with me, but criticised or ignored when they express their feelings." These mixed signals, they force the mind into an impossible loop. The person cannot trust their perceptions because any action they take leads to emotional pain. The mind fragments as it tries to make sense of the impossible, and over time this can lead to disorganized thinking because reality itself seems contradictory. Logical thought begins to break down. Paranoia, because if every choice feels like a trap, the mind may start seeing hidden dangers everywhere. Hallucinations and delusions, where reality is unreliable. The mind creates its own explanations. It may take the form of voices or visions. The neurological effects of double binds. At the neurological level, the double bind creates a state of chronic stress and cognitive dissonance, and this can hyperactivate the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, making the person feel constantly unsafe. Disrupt the prefrontal cortex, impairing decision-making and logical thinking. Cause overactivity in the dopamine pathway, which is linked to hallucinations and delusions. But breaking free from the double binds in schizophrenia, the healing begins when the person learns to recognize the double binds and step out of them. Some ways to do this include reframing the situation by realizing the problem is not them, but the contradictory messages that they've received. Developing new beliefs by creating empowering narratives that replace the old conflicting ones. And learning to trust their own perceptions by validating their own experiences instead of relying on external contradictions.